Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So we have 4 days until the 2024 presidential election between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, and I kind of wanted to break down 10 reasons why I believe Donald Trump is the favorite. That's not to say it's a done deal, but I will say you have a lot of close polling, but still a lot of polling that Donald Trump is doing unprecedentedly well in, to the point where it's like, okay, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of these pollsters that are all releasing like tide races in Pennsylvania. You don't know what's going to happen, but I wanted to make the case for why Donald Trump is the favorite in this election cycle. So we're going to dive into it, but really quickly, the site goes down in a few hours, so make sure you guys check out the merch store if you guys want to buy any merch. It's the last chance, potentially. You can buy one, get one 20% off all t-shirts, tank tops, and mugs. We have all these great designs and more, and officially now we have blankets, so make sure you guys check it out. The link will be in the description and pinned comment down below. So it's time we dive into this. 10 reasons why Trump's the favorite. Number one, the basic fundamentals are in his favor. Just look at the key issues, and you can go through the key issues here. The economy is number one, and number two is the border and immigration. Abortion was number two in the midterms. That has been completely tilted on its head as immigration has rose as an important issue, which makes sense as it's more of like a national issue that's going to inspire turnout. That's going to help Republicans. Abortion kind of has become more of a state issue, and when they ask the issue importance of independence and how they view the issue, it's not as important as the economy, for example, especially among potential undecided voters, which tend to care about the economy and are kind of more likely to be like your archetypal Trump voter. So you look at the key issues and the basic fundamentals, it just kind of shows what's kind of going on here. And when you look at the current approval of this administration, that Harris is the number two in, it's minus 16. You look at the economy, it's minus 19. You look at immigration, as of right now, it's minus 28. That is absolutely abysmal. That's a big problem that Kamala Harris is going to have to deal with, especially as she's really been unable to effectively distance herself from Biden, which brings us to number two. Donald Trump is a quasi-incumbent. This is basically a referendum between the two presidencies. Kamala Harris is just the, different figurehead, and she's got her own baggage as well, but is unable to really separate herself from Biden in many ways. But you talk about the referendum between these two administrations, people forget how close 2020 was, and Trump's favorable rating was like 42. His unfavorable rating was like 56. Biden's was positive. Now Trump's more popular than ever. He's at 45.3. His unfavorable rating's only 52%. That was like 61% leading up to the 2016 election. So a massive shift in Trump's favor. Kamala Harris is slightly more popular, slightly less unpopular. But still, some of these polls in the mix are just very contradictory. One thing I will say, though, is that when they ask about Trump's retrospective job approval, it's overwhelmingly positive. And when they ask about Kamala Harris's job approval, it's overwhelmingly negative. So when you look at the double haters and where they lie, it does seem as if Trump is going to win those double haters for a third election cycle, possibly by a lot. So number three, we have to look at the global perspective and see what's going on worldwide, because incumbents are losing big everywhere in the world, and right-wing populist parties are rising everywhere in the world as it stands today. And Donald Trump is running a more populist campaign this time around. The border is a massive issue, politically speaking. So you look at what's going on in the landscape across the globe, just like we saw with Brexit in 2016, we're kind of seeing something vaguely similar in 2024. So that could be a sign of something, So we also have to touch base on reason number four. Trump's campaign is focusing on what it needs to win. Trump in 2020, what was the real direction? Obviously, you had a very strong economy. You had a very secure border that he was not really able to campaign on. And then COVID overshadowed everything. You look at the key issues, which brings us back to point one. You're going from COVID and BLM to inflation and the border being those top issues. COVID definitely had a lot more of a big impact on the 2020 election than people typically remember, compared to whatever abortion is about to have on this election, most likely. So you talk about the campaign quality. Trump is focusing on the issues that helped him win in 2016. Immigration, foreign policy, you have the economy, protectionism. That plays out well with these white working class voters that live in the Rust Belt. And if you shift them by just a couple points or so, that would be more than enough to get Donald Trump the victory in the elections. He's focusing more on his core constituency, but ironically enough, instead of, trying to outwoke the left on, racial issues, he's actually gaining a record amount of black voters, Hispanic voters in the process. It's kind of a growing coalition that Donald Trump has. The question is it going to be geographically efficient enough for him to win, so long as he does marginally better with white working class voters and holds his own with white college graduates? He probably is going to be in a very, very good spot. Also, you talk about the fact that he's running even among ad spending with Kamala Harris, and you talk about the fact that he's making more stops more efficiently. He's not wasting too much time in states like Minnesota, Ohio, Iowa, Florida that he would have won in 2020 had he never set foot in those states. So definitely that plays a major role in terms of running a very improved campaign with improved messaging, epic photo ops, you name it, which brings us to number 5. That is that the cultural zeitgeist has changed. You don't have BLM and the wokeism as front and center. And whenever the left, is trying to spiral in terms of the media, which they've been doing, and they've been trying to just go super woke lately because they have to, grab onto everything Donald Trump says now out of desperation after trying to outflank Trump like from the right on immigration to no avail. It's just not working, what we're seeing right now. So you talk about the social acceptability of supporting Trump. We have a less woke culture than we did in 2020. And that very well could come back to bite the Democrats in the rear end, because it is more socially acceptable to support Donald Trump now than it really ever has been. You have a lot of people like Elon Musk coming forward. You have more celebrities supporting Trump. Not like it matters, but I mean, it is a good thing to see the culture move in a better direction. So either way, it's just a different landscape right now. It's more acceptable to support Trump, which might lead some people to do it who may never have done it before. Number 6 is basic electoral demography. And you could look at the early vote data. Republicans are doing very well. Democrats are not doing so well. And you had a lot of only COVID voters who cared a lot about COVID or BLM, and Democrats digitally targeted them while they were glued to their electronics during the quarantines or whatever, and they voted in very high numbers. And a lot of them voted by mail. And they never have voted before in their lives, and never have voted after in their lives, and have never voted in person in their lives, and probably did not vote very enthusiastically. Some of them probably forgot that they voted. So when you look at something like that, it's like that was a different election. And there were election law changes, many of which have kind of been chipped away at in many key states like Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, Wisconsin to a certain degree, where they've lowered the amount of drop boxes. And now you have a new RNC that's got this team of lawyers, and they're winning lawsuits, and they're catching any possible shenanigans in Pennsylvania. But mainly this is affecting black turnout as well. Because you see the returns out of Georgia, where a lot of people do vote early. They're not really seeing a very high level. In fact, it's like 2004 level. If you see black turnout dip significantly and the black share of the electorate goes down like to 11% or below, you're talking about Donald Trump decisively winning. The Sun Belt and the Rust Belt gets much, much easier for him to win as a result, because you don't have that inflated turnout. And a lot of those individuals were COVID-only voters, and I suspect there's a lot of young voters as well that fit that demographic of all ethnic groups. So number 7 is that the Trump attack lines are just stale. Donald Trump is more popular than ever. It's true that there's people that don't like him personally, that love his policies. A lot of those people are going to end up voting for him anyways, even if it's like a hold your nose type of vote. And that's what it comes down to. You talk about the fact that they've been trying to get this guy for 9 years. They throw everything at him. They basically tried to put him in jail. They indict him 4 times on 91 counts, and they convict him on 34. And they've been trying to get him for 9 years, but he's stronger than ever. That would kind of lead a lot of people to believe that Trump is just able to just overcome a lot of different things. And the fact that he's in a good position to win should tell you that the attack lines are old and stale, and the media is becoming unhinged, which brings us to number 8. People are just not trusting the media anymore. They're not getting their news sources from mainstream media. They're getting it maybe from podcasts, which Donald Trump has made a very, very good effort to go on many of them. But you talk about trust in mass media from basically every single demographic in terms of age, it's down significantly. It's at record lows. 2016 was lower than 2020. Look who won in 2016 and then compare it to 2020. But also now it's much, much lower. People don't trust the mainstream media. You have more people getting their news from these podcasts that, ironically enough, Donald Trump has made a very good effort at going on a lot of them, which have generated combined tens of millions of views and have introduced Trump in a very positive, likable light to those people. It is true they need to vote for sure. Many of those people might be low propensity voters, but the ones that are turning out so far are unprecedentedly Republican, according to the early vote, which, again, it's not indicative. But you know what is more indicative of anything, including the 13 keys model? The Gallup Party ID for the third quarter, because it's been the most accurate at gauging the popular vote. And every time it's underestimated Republicans, it's true. But you look at this and you see what's going on. Every single time they've nailed it pretty close. It was plus 8 in 2008 when the final was 7.3. 2012, it was plus 4 when it was 3.9 in terms of the popular vote. 2016, it missed by 0.9%. 2020, it missed by 0.5%. So it's actually the past 4 cycles, it's been extraordinarily predictive and has underestimated Republicans. What are they showing for the first time ever? A Republican lead in the popular vote that has never happened before. Trump may not need to win it by 3 to win the election. He probably wins the election if it's like within 2 in the popular vote. But the fact that it shows an R+3 could prove that maybe the polls are missing something again, because that's similar to the polling error that we've seen before. And then you have polls that were dead on accurate, the gold standards like Atlas Intel. They're very bullish on Donald Trump, and they're showing him winning by like 2 to 3 points. So the Gallup Q3 indicator, that's the most accurate gauge in recent elections in terms of precision. And the fact that they're showing an R+3, some people have aggregated it differently, but regardless of how they do it, it's R+1 to 2 at the lowest, R+3 at the highest. That is a Republican popular vote, which means Trump's going to win if that holds up. And then finally, we have the polls. That's reason 10. And the polls can be wrong. Everybody needs to take note and get out and vote. But Trump has never led the popular vote ever. Like ever, except for a few days in 2016 over Hillary after the RNC, and then I think a day in like May. So you look at this. This is a massive shockwave right here. He's also polling at his like record high in the polls, like 48.6, I think, a couple days ago. It's actually, I think, dipped. But one thing we do know is that he never polled above 46%. Now he's at 48.4. And who usually overperforms the polls? Trump. And then you look at the swing states, he's winning in every single one of the Sunbelt battlegrounds. The polls are usually historically accurate in Georgia and in presidential years. Arizona, to a large degree, their final aggregate in 2020 was Biden plus 0.9 or so. So you look at that and it's like, okay, the states that usually have accurate polls are showing Trump up. The polls that usually have less accurate polls are showing like Harris up. And even in the case of Wisconsin and Michigan, to the left of the country, that's not going to happen. It is true Trump might improve more in big states, but these things carry over. If Trump is really doing that well in New York and he loses it by like 13 instead of 23, he's winning Pennsylvania. He is. Because you talk about like Long Island, it's very similar to certain parts of Philadelphia. Biden had a unique point of strength in that region in the Northeast as well, but that did carry over to the Mid-Atlantic, where he was well known and resonated with those voters in a time of chaos. So either way, it's not really possible that Trump wins the popular vote and loses the election. One set of these polls probably has to be wrong. We can debate by how much they're going to be wrong, But if Trump even loses the popular vote by 1, I really would be hard-pressed to see him lose Pennsylvania, lose Wisconsin at that point. Michigan might be a little bit more debatable, but still, these states, typically when Trump's on the ballot, vote to the right of the country. So the fact that you're seeing big swings in, deep blue states or large red states where the polls historically are a little bit more accurate and they're showing swings to Trump, and the states that kind of have more inaccurate polling, he's lagging behind. Maybe there's something to the point where he's really going to outrun the polls again. Now, it is true there are less undecideds. I don't think Trump is going to see a 6-point, 7-point polling error in Wisconsin again. But could he see like a 3-point polling error, 4 points if he has a really good night? Absolutely. And those CNN polls out of Michigan and Wisconsin, not really all that solid. But either way, we have 4 days until we get our verdict. Get out to vote. Take everybody you know to vote. Make sure it happens so Trump can win. And lastly, I'll say this. The one reason why he could lose, well, it's people not showing up. So show up and make sure everyone you know shows up so we can end up winning. Because there's a lot of people, there's enough people in this country to get Trump the win, regardless of what happens, but they need to show up. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.